Thank you, Cantor. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. I want to start some remarks this evening by offering a completely unsurprising and uncontroversial announcement, and that is to share with you that social media is terrible. And I say this tonight as someone who is still hopelessly addicted to it, but it's terrible. It makes people feel terrible. Everybody knows that. It makes people feel afraid. It makes people feel inferior. It makes you feel bad about what your body looks like and how much money you have and what kinds of accomplishments your kids have accumulated. Social media is still the most effective medium ever developed for widespread distribution of misinformation. The sites are full of doctored photos and harebrained conspiracy theories and, in some cases, full-on racist and anti-Semitic poison. It is terrible. Can you imagine if Mark Zuckerberg had just stayed in school instead of dropping out 20 years ago to start Facebook? So that's my hot take for tonight. Facebook is terrible. It makes people feel terrible, and the world would be much better without it. Except for today. Today is the one day out of the entire year that Facebook is fantastic, because today is my birthday, and today is the one day out of the entire year that it is great to be on Facebook. I'm sure that the people who run Facebook don't know this, but this is actually the thing that their product is the best in the world at. They've spent billions and billions of dollars on messaging software and e-commerce, artificial intelligence, photo and video library sharing, all of that stuff. But more than anything else, Facebook does an incredible job of being a magical birthday machine. You go online, and it tells you which of your friends are having a birthday. It opens up a little text field for you. You can wish them a happy birthday, and boom, the birthday boy gets a flood of kind words and good wishes from all of his friends on his special day. It is awesome. I've been reading messages all day, messages that came in from all over the world, from people I've known in all stages of my life, from early childhood until now, from all over the world. It is just awesome, and it's made me feel terrific. And it's such a welcome change because even beyond the standard, everyday, run-of-the-mill rottenness of social media, there's so much stuff that we encounter every day in our lives that makes us feel rotten, that makes us feel small and insignificant. The images we see in advertising and entertainment, the messages we hear in news and in politics, they make it really hard for us to feel good about ourselves, about our world, about our future. So when you find something like the magical birthday machine, something that produces pure goodwill and sweetness from people who care about you, it's a beautiful and remarkable change. And it feels, in a way, a bit nostalgic. It feels like that way of using social media is a relic from a bygone age. People who are below a certain age in the room tonight probably don't even remember this, but there was a time when Facebook was, first, the only social media site there was, and second, that it was all about sharing positive content with your friends. Little jokes and good wishes, pictures of your kids and your pets. And now things are so different when you go online. Now that cute messages and the baby pictures are mostly gone, replaced by a continual onslaught and unceasing stream of corrosive and destructive content, most of which probably is generated by bot farms functioning somewhere overseas. Now, this week, our Torah portion, which is Parshat Ki Tavo, describes a ritual that the people Israel were instructed to undertake when they crossed the Jordan River and made their way into the Promised Land for the first time. It's a process that Moses sketches for them in great detail. The process that they're to undertake when they make their way into their new home is that the Israelites are to cross the river, pass through a long valley with tall hills on either side. As they approach the hills, representatives of the 12 tribes who are stationed on the highest slopes call out to the people as they wind their way through the valley. Tribesmen on this side proclaim in loud voices about the rich blessings that await the Israelites if they obey God's commandments in their new home. Tribesmen on this side call out a long list of gruesome curses that will befall them if they fail to live up to the commandments that God gave them. When our Israelite ancestors, the earliest relatives that we had in this religious people, when those ancient Israelites crossed the Jordan River and crept into that unfamiliar valley, can you imagine what it would have felt like? What would you have felt if you were there, walking tentatively into a country you've never known, confused, disoriented, and frightened, with promises of blessing echoing in one ear and terrifying curses ringing in the other? They must have wondered whether the encouragements or the threats were more likely to foretell the future yet to come. They must have been so intimidated, so overwhelmed by the sense of just how risky and uncertain their new life and their new home would be. And now I wonder, which do you think they'd be more likely to remember? When retelling their children about their experiences that day when they first entered the Promised Land, which words do you think they'd be more likely to recall? The blessings or the curses? If you ask me, I imagine that after hearing both sets of proclamations, the blessings and the curses, I imagine that the curses would have been the ones that really stayed with them. Because in our lives, we know when we're presented at the same time with warm, glowing promises about the sweet things in life, and we're bombarded by frightening warnings about the calamities that are likely to befall us, there's no contest. The thing that stays with us are the curses, and they overpower the blessings that we hear. The warnings overpower the promises. It's easy to forget the blessings when you have curses in your ears. It's easy to forget how good the magical birthday machine makes you feel when you log onto Facebook just a few days after your birthday, and it's back to fake news and clickbait and 24/7 rage farming. Tonight, we find ourselves nearly at the end of a 7-week-long span of the Jewish calendar, during which the Haftarah portions we read are all thematically related, and they all come from a single section of the book of Isaiah. This time on the calendar is known as the Weeks of Consolation, a stretch of the Jewish year that leads right up to Rosh Hashanah. The text of Isaiah that we read reiterates week after week after week God's desire to bring comfort, consolation to our people. All of them share the common theme, which seems quaint and powerful. Everything's going to be okay. The themes of the High Holy Days, the words we'll hear in our liturgy and from our Torah scroll, can feel grim and difficult when we're preparing for them. It can be challenging to spend so much time reflecting on our deeds and sitting in regretful contemplation about what we've done wrong, hoping that we'll be given another chance to repair what has been broken and live up to what we know we can yet be in the new year. Those holidays that are just a couple of weeks away will not let us forget that the stakes are incalculably high. The consequences of our deeds and actions are serious. They're real. But these 7 weeks before the new year begins do their own important work to prepare us for those holy days by making sure that we don't surrender to hopelessness. We don't resign ourselves too early to the conclusion that we certainly won't merit an entry into the book of life. During these weeks, the prophet reassures us, don't let the reality of darkness in the world lead you to overlook the constant, enduring presence of light, which is with you at all times. This week, Isaiah promises us, Kumi ori kiva orech, arise and shine, your light has dawned. Uchvod Adonai alayich zarach, God's eternal presence is shining on you. It's hard to remember the sweetness when all you see is struggle. It's hard to remember the blessings when all you can hear is the curses. But our tradition is insistent on this point. You cannot forget what is sweet and good. This, I suppose, is what I'm taking away with me from my spin at the magical birthday machine this year. That one way we can become and remain attuned to that sweetness is by taking the time to offer it to each other, to extend a hand to one in need, to remember not to withhold the gentle word or the encouraging message for someone who is celebrating or struggling, to remind each other that we are here, and the greatest asset we have during our long and winding walk toward the promised land is the constant and reassuring presence of community and the nearness of our God. So I'll conclude this evening with another promise that Isaiah offers us from this week's Haftarah. He says, "Your sun shall set no more, your moon no more withdraw. The Eternal One will be a light to you forever, and your days of struggle shall be ended." May this be God's will on this Shabbat and in the new year yet to come. Amen.